Hello, greetings to everyone, and welcome to Gradient Tutor. My name is Afari Ernest, and I'm going to take you through business in Ghana, that is Ghanaian business and culture. So let's look at our outline for today's topic. We are going to look at characteristics of Ghanaian businesses. We will be looking at the concept of culture. We'll be looking at Ghanaian businesses and culture assimilator. So let's run through. Okay, so characteristics of Ghanaian businesses. We are saying business in Ghana are classified in various ways. The most common classifications are, so we have three classifications. We have the first, that is the formal and informal entities. We also have the public and private entities. We have the micro, small, medium, and large enterprises. So let's look at the formal versus the informal. Now, under normal circumstance, when we say formal, what does it mean by formal? Formal is anything that is what standardized, right? Anything that is being structured. So when we say formal institution, it means that kind of institution is what standardized or structured. Do you get it? Yes, and it is being regulated by law, or you can talk about rules and regulations. Do you get it? And that is what makes it what formal. So when we say the formal businesses, here we are saying institutions that are states, institutions of states as officially what registered. So institutions that has been registered under what the Constitution of Ghana. Yes, we can classify them as what formal businesses. Okay, and any institution that is also what standardized, has all kinds of formalities. Any institution that is has an organized system of what employment. Yes, we can also classify that as what a formal institution. Okay, then for formal institution or businesses too, yes, it is an obligation for you to pay what taxes. Okay, yes. So let's look at, since we are done with the formal institution, now we know the formal, it is what structured, it is standardized, it has rules and regulations and laws, it has organized system for what employment. There is obligation for you to pay tax, especially the ministers. Whenever you are doing a government business or a government work, it means it is compulsory for you to pay what taxes. I hope you get it. And that makes it what formal. And when you come to the formal businesses or institutions, they are also have one characteristics which is very advantageous over the informal, and that is what the job or security, job income or security. For formal, because it is formal, it goes through what procedures, and once you work, you get your salary, because upon agreement, if I'm saying I'm going to pay you 1,000 cedis at the end of the month, even if I get losses at the end of the month, I still have to pay you what 1,000. So for your income security and the formal sector or the formal institution is very what assured. Okay, so now let's look at the informal sector. So when we come to the informal sector, that is where we say their activities is what outside the formal regulatory what systems. It does not go through the structures, the standardized procedures, and all sorts that we looked at under the formal sector. So for the informal sector here, it applies to normally the small and the micro businesses. Most of the time, the individual businesses, that is what we term as what the informal sector, because that one, it has not been registered under the government. Okay, and it does not have all these procedures and formalities and all that. So let's say when you are working under the informal sector, if you are working under someone in the informal sector, there is one thing you can also talk about. Okay, because that is in terms of, let's say, job income insecurity. Do you get it? Because the person will say at the end of the month, I'm supposed to pay you this, and the business owner can tell you at the end of the month, I recorded what losses, so in this case I'm going to reduce your salary. Now, because the agreement is not within law, you cannot sue your business what owner. I hope you get it. So there is no formal, there is no structured procedures and standardized what procedures. Okay, yes, and when you come to the informal sector, there is low what technology. That is what labor intensive. Do you get it? But for the formal sector, you see, you'll be using computers and all sort of technology. So that one becomes what capital intensive. So less labor, the labor or the workers, they do not work let's say immensely, but what they do is they operate what the technologies. But when you come to the informal sector, it is the people that what work very hard instead of what the technologies. So we say under the informal sector there is what labor intensive. I hope you get that. And we are saying the informal sector also serves as what the safety net for people unable to secure employment in the formal sector. So when we say the safety net, you see, in every economy, or taking Ghana, because we are doing business in Ghana, here we are saying, because there is less job in the economy by the government, so people are really into one man businesses, and they are all just taking care of their businesses. Okay, yeah, so in this case it means for our formal sector, once you are not able to work within the formal sector, you can switch to what the informal sector, and that is why we are saying it serves as what the safety net for us. Because once you are not able to secure an employment in the formal sector, yes, you can work within the informal sector. You can work under someone, or you can just create your own business. I hope you get that. Yes. And so we have talked about unregistered firms, and also we are also interested in the hidden form of what taxation. So because they are informal sector, and the no circumstance that a barber, or let's say a fisherman, will just go to GRA to submit his taxes. I hope you get it. So under no circumstance, so when you work under the informal sector, there is this hidden from taxation and the rest, because it is unregistered. The government cannot determine those that are supposed to pay taxes. Okay, yes. And let's also look at this. Yes, we are saying it has what it is estimated that about 80% of the Ghanaian workforce is employed in the informal sector. That is why we are saying that is what the safety what net. Okay, that is the safety net. So we have the high income insecurity as well. That is why I said initially that the government, it is something that is not formal or standardized, and so the government cannot come into the informal sector, because once you are working under the informal sector, there is no agreement, there is no senate, there is nothing. So once the employer record losses, yes, it is likely he can just reduce your salary, or the employer can even choose not to pay you. Yes, and so that is why we said we have the high income insecurity under the informal sector. Your income is not assured. Okay, yes. And so for the informal sector too, we are going to look at two forms or two classifications. Okay, so one classification that we are going to look at is, we have the rural informal sector and the urban informal sector. So when you hear of the word rural, yes, what are we talking about? Rural informal sector. So you know the rural deals with those villages, typical villages and towns. So those towns, what are they into? Do you get it? So when you go to the pure typical villages, most of them are into what? Agriculture, right? Yes, and when you go to the coastal areas as well, you see most of them are into fishing and fish processing and the rest. Okay, and rural agro-based processing what activities as well. And so that is why you see the palm kernel, those kind of local bitters and the rest. Okay, yes. And so when you come to the informal sector, under the rural informal sector, this is what we have. And when you come to the urban informal sector too, let's say when you go to Accra, the informal sector, the businesses in Accra that are not registered, yes, so you can talk about what barbering shops, You can talk about hairdressers, graphic designers, and the rest. For them, they are under the what informal sector, but they are in a city. The fact that they are in a city doesn't mean they are registered under the government. Okay, yes, and that is basically what we are talking about. And we also have construction. So the construction here, we are talking about masons, carpenters, and the rest. Manufacturing, we have apprenticeship, right? So these are all form of businesses under the urban informal sector. So in an examination, if they ask you to identify whether this kind of business is under rural or urban informal sector, you should be able to do so. Okay, yes, because we have realized under the rural, it deals with what agricultural activities, fishing processing, rural agro-based processing, and others, right? Yes, and when you come to the informal, that is where we talk about services, construction, manufacturing, and what apprenticeship. Okay, yes. Then let's look at another classification. We have the public and what private sectors. Now we are done with the formal and informal sectors. And under informal, we realize we have rural and urban informal sectors. Now we are going to look at public and private what sectors. So when you see a word public, it means you are talking about what government. Anything that talks about public deals with what government, and anything that talks about private deals with what let's say an entrepreneur or a private individual. I hope you get that. So public sector institutions and businesses are established and controlled by government or the state. So the public deals with what government. So once you see the word public, it should come to your mind that they are referring to what the government or the state. I hope you get that. So let's look at them. We are saying the private sector is made up of entities outside the public sector and includes foreign what investment. So that is what we said. So you see that for the private sector, it is just the one man business, or it consists of those entrepreneurs, private individuals, and it's also involve what the foreign investment. So if anyone comes from abroad and is doing investments in the country, yes, we consider that person under the private what sector, right? Then you know the public is the one that deals with what government. Then there can be a situation whereby there will be public private what partnership. So that is when you see let's say a private individual is owning a business, or is, let's say the person deals with businesses, a lot of businesses, but you see the government might want to what invest in that person's what business, and that is what we classify as what public private what partnership, right? Then you can also you can talk about the ECG. There was one time when the ECG is owned by the state, and a public entity came. Yes, and they invested in the ECG, and I think they changed the name that I've forgotten. And so that one can be classified as what public private what partnership. Okay, yes. So let's look at the last part of the classifications. We have the micro, small, medium, and large what entities or enterprises that we call what the SMEs. So for the SMEs here is very sensitive. When you are learning them, you make sure you understand the number of employees each enterprise has, right? Then they are what fixed assets or the capital. I hope you get that. So taking micro enterprises for an example, micro enterprises, they are businesses that have 1 to 5 employees and value of fixed assets less than or up to $10,000. I hope you get it. Then for small enterprises too, you have to know the number of employees. Medium enterprises too, you have to note the number of employees, that is 30 to 99. And for the large firms, that is 100 and more. Let's look at it very well here. So according to the World Bank's definition, since 1976, SMEs are firms with fixed assets excluding land. So once you are building a business, or once you are coming up with business, yes, when we are talking about your capital or your fixed assets, we exclude land, right? So we are talking about the money that you are going to use to put up the building, that is the factory, and also the technologies and the kind of production you are going to take. These are the things that, according to World Bank, they take into what consideration. Now, for the firms, we have that of the developing countries and that of what developed countries. So for the developing countries, we have the number of workers and the fixed assets that is under the developing countries, and we have the number of workers and fixed assets under developed countries. They are not the same. So once you are learning them, you make sure you understand it very well. Okay, so micro businesses, firms with less than 6 workers, and small firms, they are firms that has small enterprise has 5 to 19 workers, medium 20 to 99 workers, and large 100 plus workers. So this is for developing countries. Then let's look at developed countries or industrialized countries. Okay, so we have the large firms, for them 500 plus, but when we were talking about the developing countries, it is 100 plus. Then let's also look at medium firms, that is 100 to 499 workers under the industrialized countries. So this one, they are talking about the developed countries, and so let's check the medium here, 20 to 99. And the small businesses, less than or equal to 99 workers, but for developing countries, we have 5 to 19 workers. So you make sure you understand the question before you tackle it. Okay, don't be like you have learned this one, so once you see the question, you don't read it into details, you just go for the answer. Other than that, yes, you may answer question under developing countries, and you just pick the answer for industrialized country for that. Okay, so you make sure you take note of that. Now let's look at the concept of culture as our second outline for today's topic. So we are saying culture consists of shared elements that provide a standard for perceiving, believing, evaluating, communicating, and acting among those who share a language, a historical period, and geographic location. So you know, culture is a way of life of a people living in a particular geographical area. So the lifestyle of people within a particular area is what we consider as what culture. And under sociology, you know, people do the things they do because of where they come from. Okay, so it's because of the culture they belong to. Someone from Akan may act in public differently from someone from, let's say, Ghana or Guan. Do you get it? And their language is also what different. Their how they dress is also what different. Okay, yes. So let's look at some studies under culture. So we are saying culture can be studied in multiple ways. One is across nations. So the across nations is talking about countries, right? So the culture of Ghana is different from the culture of Burkina Faso. Okay, now you can talk about the politics. Now the political ideology of Ghana is democracy, and the political ideology of Burkina Faso is totalitarianism. You get it? Yes. So two different ideology in politics. Then you can also talk about their dressings, right? Their dressings, and you can also talk about the food they eat. So when you take countries like Lesotho, Guinea-Bissau, Kenya, and Uganda, the kind of food and meat that they eat, yes, it's not the same as that of Ghana, right? Yeah, so when you come to Ghana, our way of life is different, and that is what we mean by across nations. Then when you talk about across ethnic groups within nations, here we are talking about one particular country. So when you talk about Ghana, because we are dealing with businesses in Ghana, the ethnic groups within the nations, they all have their what culture. So when you are doing business in Accra, you have to know the kind of location and geographical area you are dealing with before you set up what a business. Now when you are establishing a business in, let's say, Cape Coast, you have to know where you are establishing the business, the culture, the way of life, that particular thing you are going to sell. Is it everybody that is interested in that particular product? Let's say you come to let's say some of the things that some common food, let's say it's easy, right? Yes, and that one is normally related to the Bulgarians. Yes, let's say when you come to all other things being equal, when you come to Cape Coast and you want to sell that particular food, you have to know that how many people in Cape Coast, or what is the tendency that when you sell that particular food, you are going to sell it and sell it more. So you have to know the culture, right? Then we can also study the culture across individuals within what nations. So we can talk about across countries, across ethnic groups in the country. Then we can also talk about what across the individuals in the country, right? My way of life is different from someone. So you can study me differently and study my friend also what differently, and that is what we mean. Okay, so let's move on. We have individualism and collectivism. Okay, so once you hear the word individualism, what comes into mind? That is what single or a personal goal. But when you talk about collectivism, that is what group goal, right? Or you are talking about what a culture that deals with what groups, right? Yes. And so the individualism and collectivism, what we are saying is under the individualism cultures, people tend to prefer independent relationship to others and value their personal goals than in group. So they value their personal life. Okay. Then for collectivism, that is vice versa. They value in group than what personal goals. So the question is Ghanaian society an individualistic or collectivistic? So when you talk about individualistic, that is when you perceive your individual goal, and collectivistic is when there is what in group, right? Now, I would say for Ghana, we deal with we are most attached towards the collectivism, right? Yes, because once you are born into an extended family, yes, and everything that deals with your life is an influence from what the extended family, right? But then when you go to other countries like UK, yes, it's just individual. Once you get married, you and your wife, your children, you stay together. Okay, yes, and that is it. So let's look at it. I will just explain it more once we move on. So the key differences between collectivism and individualism. Okay, so under collectivist, people are born into extended families or other in-groups that continue protecting them in exchange for what loyalty. But when you come to individualistic cultures or societies, everyone grows up to look after him or herself and his or her immediate nuclear family. That is what I said. So when you go to other countries like UK and US, for them, once you are giving birth, they take care of you from your for your education. Then once you become old, and or once you get married, that is all. You just stay with you and your wife, your nuclear family. Yes, no that kind of visitation, your aunties coming to your place, that kind of life. So children learn to think in terms of we. So because we are group, you see the term we are coming, we are this, we are strong. But then when you go to individualist societies, you hear most of the words I am this, I am this. Do you get it? Yeah, so you can read more and direct. So let's look at the high context and low context cultures, right? So the high context culture is one where most of the information is not explicitly communicated, right? So when we say explicit, it means outside, right? So the information is not communicated what outside. So information is internalized in the persons. Then the low context is one where mass of information is explicitly what communicated. Information is vested in the explicit code. So that is where information are shared what outside to the masses, right? So that is the two key difference between them. So you can just refer them to let's say an introvert and extrovert. So high context culture is will be related to, let's say, someone who is introvert. So you see that those people like keeping things to themselves, right? Then for the low context culture, yes, extrovert, yes, for them they like to voice everything out in explicit manner, right? So in this situation, how would you classify Ghana as a society? Okay, under the high contest or the low contest. Ghanaian society a high contest or low contest? So you, let's say, from your opinion, you make it under the comment section and I'll just look at that. Okay, but I'm sure once I am going to take you through, or once I'm not done, you'll be able to identify it before we end the lesson. So the high contest, yes, it is what? Indirect, ambiguous, maintain of harmony, reserved. Yes, the key word is what? Reserved, and mostly what? Collectivist, right? Yes, and so it means the answer. Okay, I shouldn't say the answer. Okay, the answer is what? Ghana is what? A high contest what culture, because once Ghana is a collectivist, and you see mostly collectivist here, right? You see mostly collectivist here, but here mostly what? Individualist or individualistic manner. So in this situation, it means Ghana is under what? The high contest society or culture. So kindly put it in your head so that you don't forget. Okay, so oh, it has been answered here. So when you check the diagrams here, you see that for US, Australia, and all kinds of the European countries, Germany, Sweden, Switzerland, and the rest, yes, they are all under what? Low contest, right? Then when you come to the higher contest, that is where you see Ghana here. So Ghanaian society is a higher contest what? Society. All right. Then we can also talk about the country's culture. So we have the country's culture, the impacts and the practices. So despite globalization, cultural influence on business should not be what? Underestimated. Now we are saying discuss some of the Ghanaian cultures that may impact business organizations, right? Yes, and for this, we are going to look at some of the Ghanaian culture and the various businesses. Okay, so in an examination, these are kind of things you'll be seeing in the exam. So some key culture and principles that impact the activities of business management in Ghana. So we have collective solidarity. So when you hear the word collective solidarity, collective here means what? Group. Solidarity means what? You are talking about, let's say, how strong a group is, right? Or how solid a group is. Yeah, so it is just communal and it is also what? Interdependent. So you can talk about the group significance. We are saying business goals are achieved in groups and personal achievements are underplayed. So harmony and social cohesion. Emphasis is placed on peace and mutual what? Respect, right? Then so when you hear of the word harmony, right, you know it is talking about peace, that is oneness. Then social cohesion is talking about what? How to come together as one. Yes, so harmony and social cohesion is basically how to maintain peace and what? Mutual respect. Now when you hear of the word consensus, consensus is placed on collective decision making and competition is discouraged. So whenever you hear of the word consensus, it means it is a decision, let's say, yes, majority. Yes, most of the time we refer to it as a majority. So when we ask, or when I ask 10 people about how they see the Ghana's economy, and each of them is sharing their idea, you see that you get either 4 or 5 people talking about the same thing, or if you need an idea about something, yes, upon several deliberations, yes, the ideas that you come up with, yes, that is what? The consensus. For there, it is no debate, you are just sharing ideas and we just want to get what? The majority. I hope you get it. Then we have consultation. And so consultation is joint problem solving and honoring the collective wisdom of all team members, right? So you know the word consultation. And now greetings and greeting, we are saying emphasis is placed on personal greetings as Ghanaians are warm and friendly, right? Yes, so when you come to a Ghanaian culture, you see that whenever you see someone and you greet the person, it means you are friendly and you also respect. But when you see an elderly person and you do not greet, yes, it comes up with a different what perception or idea. Yes. So we have Ghanaian culture and businesses here. We are still talking about local time. Time standards are ambiguous. Time for social events may gain more commitment than business time. Yes. So when we are organizing a party, the time the time that people will just at, or let's say if you tell them to attend the program at 8 p.m., yes, probably because it is social event, you may get them on board. But then because if it comes to the business time when you are going for all this time, yes, you see that there's this kind of delays because when you come to our local time, we don't take some things like that for serious than the social event. Then you can talk about the age and authority. Advanced age is inherently equated with authority, business wisdom, rank, title, and experiences. So once you see an elderly person, you know this person has done a lot in life, right? Yeah. So in our culture, we see all the elderly person as people who have what authority, they have wisdom, and they have experienced life. So whatever they say is whatever what we listen. And we have culture of forgiveness, inherent tendency to beg for forgiveness for infraction of what rules. Okay. Then let's look at the last part, that is cultural assimilator, right? So an approach to cross cultural training. Um, the interpersonal attitude that address a contrast between the home culture and target what culture. So under sociology too, you learn cultural assimilation. So this one we are talking about now. Your home culture is different from other countries' culture. So when you go to that particular country, what do? You need to what adapt, right? Because their values and customs are different from yours. Now taking Ghana and Saudi Arabia for an instance, when you are in Ghana, you see that there are some things that you can do in Ghana but you cannot do in Saudi Arabia. You can be walking around, be sitting somewhere and be smoking, but when you get to Saudi Arabia you can't do that. Now, when you are in Ghana, you can stand by the roadside and just be hugging your girlfriend or kiss your girlfriend. But then, when you get to Saudi Arabia or Iran, you cannot stand outside with your girlfriend, someone that you have not married, in public. Then you kiss or you'll be doing all those things with a person in public, right? Yeah. So when you go there, that is what we term as the culture assimilator, because your home culture is different from that of the target culture, right? Yes. So we have sellers culture, customers culture here. Let's read this and end today's lesson. So we are saying in the Christmas Eve, Mr. Bruce decided to go for shopping for his family who resides at Ejuso. Early in the morning, he visited Edu, the central business district in Kumasi. He explored the market for products he intended to purchase. Mr. Bruce located a shop where he could purchase all his products he needed. He happily made an attempt to visit the shop. In front of the shop were two women who were selling fruit. However, Mr. Bruce did not talk to the woman in front of the shop, but immediately rushed to the shop, thinking that he would meet the shop owner. Unfortunately, the shop owner was not present at the shop but had shortly stepped out of the shop. Mr. Bruce then returned to the fruit sellers to inquire about the shop owner. After several minutes, one of the fruit sellers replied him half-heartedly. Mr. Bruce became disturbed and uncomfortably, wondering reasons the fruit seller chose to reply him reluctantly. So let's say it could be that Mr. Bruce, yes, Mr. Bruce, maybe where he finds himself, greeting is not that appreciated. Do you get it? You can choose to greet or you can choose not to greet. Yes, it doesn't matter for any circumstance. But here lies the case, he has gone to Edu to just purchase something, but because for their culture, Once you approach them or you want to inquire about something, you greet first. If you don't greet, yes, you can get someone, even if you want to ask the person question and you do not greet, that person will not mind you. Do you get it? And so that is one part of the culture assimilator that we are talking about. Where you are coming from, your culture is different from where you are heading towards, or where your target is. Okay, so the target culture and the home culture is what we are talking about. So this is the end of the Ghanaian business culture. Okay, once again, my name is Afari Ernest. You can also call me CEO, and thank you for joining, and you make sure you like, you subscribe, and you share to your friends for them to also benefit from these tutorials. Bye bye.